On this episode of the Mompreneur Show, I'm talking to Melissa Whaley. She is a tax advisor and a financial strategist and an owner at melissawhaley.com. And today we will talk about just that, about taxes. I know that January is almost over and so many of us are scrambling with our paperwork and trying to get our taxes together. Well, Melissa will help us get organized and make sure that we do everything correctly, and not only for 2016 but also for 2017, because I'm already cringing and saving all my receipts in a folder, and I'm just like, is it really worth it? And we'll find out if it really is necessary to keep all those receipts today. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Vicky, and this is a show that features amazing stories of the most remarkable mompreneurs. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey Melissa, welcome to the show.
Hey Vicky, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh honey, I'm so happy to have you here. I was on a search for an incredible tax advisor, someone who is absolutely amazing, not only in what she does, but also in personality and in family culture. And I was like, oh my gosh, when I asked in a group, everyone's like, Melissa, everyone is screaming your praises. And I'm just like, I gotta get that girl on the show. So I appreciate you so much for coming on.
I feel the love. Thank you. Well, I love the Mompreneur Show, and I'm just so excited to be here today and to get to share a little bit and give some tax love to all those mom bosses out there.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. All right, so before we get into all that juicy tax stuff, I really want to hear your story, because as mompreneurs, we all have stories. And I really want to encourage moms who are watching a replay who were at work while this was live. And I know there's so many professionals that are sitting at work at an 8 to 5 job, and they really want to break out and go free. And I'm really curious. I don't know the whole story of how you ended up being an entrepreneur, but I kind of have a feeling that that's what happened. And I know that your story will be such an encouragement to moms who are working, especially.
Oh yeah, thanks. Well, you know what's funny is that I kind of fell into my field by accident. So I did not have a degree in accounting or finance or business or anything like that. I had a 9-month-old, and my husband was in grad school, and I needed a job. So I actually found a job that had paid training to become a tax preparer. And I was like, okay, that sounds great.
That's so amazing.
It was totally random. So I worked at a tax company for 3 tax seasons. It was seasonal at the time. So I had to work my tail off during tax season to just make ends meet and get those bills paid. And, you know, my mom and my husband was watching my daughter. I only had one at the time. And it was just insane. And I loved what I was doing. I just fell in love with the taxes and all the money stuff. And I loved working, especially with small businesses that came into our office. Mm-hmm. But it was so time consuming and draining, and it was like really sad. You know, after a couple years, my daughter got older, I would come home and she'd be like, Mommy, where were you? And when is tax season over?
Oh my gosh.
It was such a bummer. So I finally, after 3 years working there, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't like the way that particular company was running their business anyways. I didn't like the way that they forced me to treat my clients. And so I just was like, I have to do this. I have to take the leap. And so I didn't go back, and I went out on my own and kind of like scraped by and figured out how to do it on my own versus being an employee. That was a fun adventure.
That's incredible. So how many years ago did you make that jump from...
I left that in 2012, and then, so it's been a slow growth ever since. And then the last couple of years, once I kind of discovered more of the online business space, it just took off, and it's been so much fun.
Oh my goodness. I bet you have so many people that love you, so many clients that love working with you. And, you know, one of the things that I think that as an entrepreneur, if you're just starting online, starting with services is is amazing. It's like, I think the right route to take, because you're literally exchanging not just your knowledge, but you're exchanging your expertise. You're doing something for someone. And that's how I got started too. And I think that's awesome. I highly encourage you to start offering services online when you just start. So Melissa, I cannot even imagine what a huge impact you had on your family when you made that jump and went into like to learn accounting and to start working in accounting, doing taxes. Like how did your husband soon finish grad school? Like how were your family dynamics then?
So he was able to finish school, which was awesome. So now he's a teacher, and he loves teaching, loves working with high school students. And my daughter, oh my gosh, it was so adorable because she was in preschool at that time. And she, when I told her like, no, mommy's not going to go work at the tax office anymore. Mommy's going to work at home. She lit up. Like she was so excited. She's like, my mommy's staying home with me.
That is so precious. And children really feel that. They really feel that. And it depends on the personality. Some kids are more attached than others. But I feel like my kids, like every time I leave or like even just go out of town, they miss me so much. And I think that it's such a gift that we're giving our children by being home most of the time with them.
Yeah, it was really neat. And, it's scary to make that jump when, when you're at a job where you have a guaranteed paycheck. As long as you show up and work your hours, you're guaranteed that paycheck. Yes. Jumping to being out on your own, it's a bit scary not knowing if, like, are the clients going to come? Is the money going to be there? But it's definitely worthwhile. And especially, like you said, like working with services and starting in that, there's a lot lower investment to get started.
Yes.
So it makes a big difference. It was easier for me to start an online business and and I worked with both local and online clients when I first got started. I was working my network everywhere I could.
So Melissa, how did you get your first clients?
I got my first clients actually because I had learned a program called Wave Accounting. Mm-hmm. And I used it for my own self and my husband because he was tutoring. So he had a side business. He was doing tutoring on the side while he was in grad school.
That's awesome.
I found Wave to help him. And I thought it was so great. And they had a pro directory where you could list yourself as a Wave Pro. And that way users of the program could find you. And so I threw myself up there and was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And someone locally found me. And then I just started teaching them how to use Wave Accounting. And they recommended friends. And it kind of just like spiraled from there.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about Wave Accounting? And the reason I'm asking is because I've never heard of Wave Accounting. And I use FreshBooks, which I totally love. But then I know QuickBooks, and then there's like another one. But like, tell why Wave Accounting?
The reason I loved Wave is because it's actually free. So It's completely free for anyone to use, and it is a full accounting program. So, there's different programs out there, and a lot of them do different things. And some of them don't necessarily track everything the way that an accountant would like it to be. So we call it double entry system.
Yes.
Yeah. So Wave is a full accounting program. Like it does all the things that any of the bigger, like a QuickBooks or a Xero would do, but it is free. It's meant for those solopreneurs who are getting started and have been doing stuff on a spreadsheet or, like you said, throwing their receipts in an envelope and then adding them up at the end of the month or end of the year.
End of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just love them, and yeah, it's really a great tool for people who are just getting started, and especially if they're doing services, but you can use it for products too.
For products. Really, really cool. I'm curious what our listeners are using right now. So ladies, if you are watching us live, let me know in the comments below what accounting software that you use. I would love to hear from you, and maybe Melissa has a few words of encouragement on that. All right, Melissa, let's now jump into accounting, because I really want to like dive in and organize my brain in accounting sense, because literally I have been not looking forward to April the 15th. And my husband is very on top of things. So he's like, sweetheart, I will do the taxes. Just prepare all the business stuff for you. You know, you don't have to do work. I will do all the work. You just got to give me the documents. And I'm like sitting there chuckling. I'm like, I don't have to do the work. Really? That's crazy. Like, I have so much paperwork, so much emails, so much invoices to go through. Are you kidding me? Anyway, so please tell us, how do we, maybe let's start with the very, very beginning. Like when we open up a business, when we start using Wave or FreshBooks or QuickBooks, what do we need to begin with? And I'm sorry if I'm like putting you on the spotlight right now, because like I know we didn't talk about like specific questions that we're going to talk about, but like maybe what are like the first steps that one needs to do, as far as maybe like keeping the receipts, logging them in?
Oh yeah, you know, one of the things that I recommend early on, if you decide like I'm going to do this, I'm going to have a business, is open a separate bank account. That alone is going to make your life so much easier, just because you're not trying to sort through your personal bank account of like, was that business? Was that like personal? Especially if you're doing like a Target or a Staples run, you're like, I have no idea whether that was diapers and crayons or whether that was all of my notebooks and office supplies.
Exactly. I love that. And thankfully, that's one of the first steps that I've done, which, you know, probably one of the very correct things that I've done in my business. Anyway, so what's next?
The next thing, so once you got that, you know, I recommend using an accounting software, some kind of software, just because it makes your life easier. So now that there are so many options out there, and they're different price points, right, to meet your different needs. So like I said, if you're like completely doing this from scratch and you don't have a lot of money to invest, using something like Wave or even a spreadsheet on Google Sheets, like that's better than nothing. Or if you're ready to upgrade to something like a QuickBooks Online, all of the online tools are really helpful, because now they connect with your bank account and they pull in all the transactions automatically for you, and you don't have to hand enter a bunch of data if you're using a program like that. So I find that it's a lot easier for people. It saves a lot of time, and that just makes it nicer when you're, you know, running your business and trying to do all the things and losing your mind.
Exactly. Because, you know, in business, oftentimes that, I mean, you know, you make investments, you make maybe website hosting investment, and it's cheaper if you buy 3 years of hosting, so you have this chunk of money there. And it's so important to keep that in check, because at the end of the year, you can easily forget about that right off. And so
and things get totally lost. So, I mean, even for me, like keeping track of receipts is really something that, you know, we stress out about, and you're like, half my receipts are an email, half my receipts are paper, or like, I don't know what happened to that receipt. So I like to use a tool called If This Then That, which is also free. And what I do is I keep all of my receipts in Evernote. So I use Evernote to capture all my receipts, and I have a formula set up where if I tag it in my Gmail that it's a receipt, it'll automatically send it to Evernote. And then when I'm out and about shopping, I have my phone on me. I have Evernote on my phone, and I walk out of the store, and I just like have programmed myself. It takes time, obviously, but so I pull out my receipt, I pull out my phone, and I snap it into Evernote, and then I know at minimum at the end of the year, all of my receipts are in one place.
Oh my goodness, that is genius. And I understand the habit part. Like, you really have to get into the habit of doing that.
Yes.
I think that's the hardest part for people, but it's definitely, I cannot stress it enough how important it is to create the right habits in your business. I mean, in your life in general. And and that could just be a trigger. You walk out of the store and you record your receipt. Okay, so let's talk about receipts. So, okay, you're saying that you're saying that I have to keep all my receipts in one area. And so, okay, you guys, I have a big confession to make. In the beginning of the year, I'm so good. I'm so good. I take a picture of all my receipts and I upload them into FreshBooks. And I'm like, I'm doing this. That's it. This is the year when I'm going to be organized. And it's January 23rd, and I've already fallen off the wagon. And and I'm thinking, do I really have to save all these receipts?
Oh, I totally understand. Yeah, here's the thing about receipts. And I mean, the reality is most of us are not going to get audited by the IRS in our life, right? I mean, the likelihood of that is not as high as some would think. Yeah. But I'm more of the better safe than sorry, because the reason that we keep receipts is to prove that it was a business expense, right? Because I mean, yeah, when you're pulling stuff in from your bank account, even if you're using FreshBooks, you can connect that to your bank account and it'll pull in and show oh, this was Staples and this was ConvertKit and this, all of those things, right? But if you actually did get audited, then the auditor would come and ask you, I don't know what that is. I need to see the receipt that explains the detail, right? So, there's certain things that are more critical for receipts, especially things like meals and entertainment and travel, because those are going to, you're going to actually have to tie that to a business purpose, not just I felt like going to Panera and I looked at my email, so that's a business expense, right?
Okay, let's talk. That's a really, really good point that you made. So let's talk about the business expense as far as meals and entertainment. You only get to write half of it off, right?
Yeah, so how it works is that, first of all, it has to be an actual business purpose. So technically, you working solo at Starbucks is not deductible, which stinks. But but if you're meeting clients, taking them out to lunch, meeting them at a coffee shop, anything like that, where you can write down this client's name or this colleague's name, because it could be a networking lunch or coffee, something like that.
Okay.
You take that receipt, you put it into your thing, but then at tax time, they reduce that deduction by half. So you only are actually going to deduct 50% of whatever that meal was. So if it's a $5 coffee and a scone, and you're going to actually write off $2.50.
Okay, what if you're meeting someone online at Starbucks?
It's kind of a gray area, to be honest, and I don't know. I still go back and forth sometimes. I tend to be a little more conservative, but... Yes.
Well, no, you're right. It's better to be conservative than not. Okay, so I have a question about receipts. This is probably not for everyone, not in every situation. And maybe it's because it's a corporation, but so I was helping a dear friend of mine, and they have this conference, and she was really pressed on time, and she's like, "Hun, can you run to the store really quick and pick up these gifts that I have for the guests? And here's a credit card." And so she gave me the business credit card, and I ran to the store and I purchased the items, slid my card, got the receipt, and I was like, okay, I want to make sure I keep this receipt. It's a business tax write-off. And so I put it in a baggie, and then when we were getting ready to leave, I noticed that the bag was by the stage and the gifts were not there. Obviously everything was over, but the receipt was in the bag, and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell her. And I grabbed the bag with me, and I was like, girl, the receipt is in. I have the receipt from the gifts that I purchased earlier. Just want to let you know, I'll just give them to you tomorrow. And she's like, oh no, I don't need it, just get rid of it. And I'm just like, what about for tax purposes? She's like, oh, we get a statement, it's good, all right. Yeah, and so I was like, oh my gosh, I always wondered about that. So can you please tell me, how does that work, the statements and the tax write-off and versus receipts?
It's kind of what we were talking about earlier, is that you will be able to see and record the expense, whether you have the receipt or not, but it's that extra layer of protection of saying, like, this is actually what I bought and this is how I can prove it. So that's kind of, I mean, there are different, here's the thing about taxes, which is so crazy, is, like, it's not so black and white like you would think. Like, if you asked 3 different tax preparers a question, they would probably give you 3 slightly different answers. So especially when it comes to business deductions, because it is so gray. And I mean, the tax code alone is like what could fill up an entire room with all the pages. It's just so crazy. So yeah, I just try my best to keep all the receipts, or at least, snap a picture of them. Because once you have a digital version of a receipt, if you snapped a picture into your FreshBooks or into Evernote or just on your phone, you can totally throw away the paper receipt. You're not required to keep it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you so much for mentioning that. I want to say hello to Rebecca. Honey, it's so good to see you here. Oh my goodness gracious. Renee, thank you so much. Renee says, I am so excited that you got someone from California. I need California tax help. I love that. Renee, you will totally love Melissa. Well, you probably already do. Wendy, thank you so much for joining us. Wendy's also a Californian, so that's awesome. Olga, sweetheart, it's so good to see you here. Thank you so much. And I think I said hi to all the rest of you ladies. All right, so let's get a little bit deeper into the accounting world. So you talked about, I just want to make a quick kind of like a rundown what you were talking about. So when you start your business, you want to make sure that, one, you first open a bank account, that you keep your personal and business separate. Number 2, you either keep it in a spreadsheet, create a spreadsheet with all your, what's the word?
Income and expenses.
Expenses, yes. And then, well, it's better to obviously get some kind of software, which is free in most cases, like Wave, like Melissa mentioned, as well as FreshBooks is free up to 3 clients. It depends on what you want to do. Now, I want to kind of go into the Etsy side of things, because I know that you sell, you help a lot of moms with their Etsy bookkeeping, with the sales that they have coming in. How do you manage that? So maybe for like a DIYer who's not ready to hire a bookkeeper, what kind of steps that they need to take to manage their own accounting?
Right. So for Etsy sellers, they have kind of this added little bit of complication, which is inventory, right? Mm-hmm. They have to track their sales, track their expenses, but then at the end of tax time, they have to know how much stuff they have left over that they haven't sold.
Exactly.
Even though they bought some materials. So as far as keeping track of the actual sales and expenses, QuickBooks Self-Employed this year released a partnership with Etsy, and so they connect directly with your Etsy shop. And I think right now they still have a special where it's like $5 a month for the self-employed version. And so it literally pulls all of your sales data from Etsy into their self-employed, and then it like pulls your Etsy fees. And the only thing you have to pay attention to on that side is your outside expenses. So when you're actually buying your materials or paying for Facebook ads or, anything like that. So it's pretty cool. And then the other side, I actually partner with another mompreneur. Her name's Janet LeBlanc, and she runs paperandspark.com.
Oh, cool. And
so she sells like inventory tracking spreadsheets, or if you're more of a like hands-on do-it-yourself person, she sells the whole like spreadsheet that you can track all your sales and expenses, and has like a little training videos. So it's really cool. Like her and I partnered together this year because, I mean, she's got the Etsy thing down as far as all the tools, and then I help them kind of understand it better and do the tax side of it too.
That is so cool. I really like that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I had no idea that Etsy had their own, partnered up with QuickBooks. That is really, really cool. Really good news for those moms who are in the handmade community.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And I was amazed because, I used to always train people, because Wave and Etsy kind of talk to each other, And I was training people on how to do it because, most people who are starting an Etsy shop, they're not like ready to jump in and spend a bunch of money on QuickBooks or anything like that.
Exactly.
But the connection started to kind of break down and it got more and more complicated. So when the QuickBooks Self-Employed came out, it's so cool. So cool. Wow. And I got lucky enough that I was at the QuickBook conference and got to meet the team that built the product and like the lady who codes it, so if there's an error, I can technically email the computer coder to tell her to fix the code.
That is incredible. Melissa, that's amazing. I love that you're not only doing this thing for your family, like contributing with finances, and you're enjoying yourself, but you're also getting out there. I really like that. So let's talk about that a little bit. I know we're kind of moving away from accounting, but ladies, if you have any accounting questions, please let me know so we can ask Melissa towards the end of the show. But so how do you manage going away from home to a conference, and how do you pick what conference is right for you?
So I just started doing in-person conferences this last year because I'll admit it was totally like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Like I saw I kind of have like two groups of really good friends. I have like my accounting friends and we have all of our little accounting Facebook groups and hang out and things. And then I have like my online business friends and hanging out in those different Facebook groups. So I kind of saw both groups, like the in-person events started to really gain popularity again in the last couple of years. So the first two conferences I went to last year, now I have 3 kids now and my youngest is only 6 months old. So I decided like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. And in September, he was, I think 3.5, maybe 4. Yeah, I was like 3.5 months old. And I drove down to San Diego with my whole family and went to a conference and just brought them with me.
That is so precious. So, did your hubby go with you? Like, did you tag team?
Yeah, so my hubby was there, and actually my mom came too to be like extra support. So it was great because I was still nursing, and I was able to, like, we stayed in the hotel where the conference was at. So I was able to kind of like go upstairs and nurse them, and they were happy, and they, went exploring. And the first one happened to be in San Diego, so I mean, it's awesome. There's so many things to do. It was fun.
Yes, Legoland and all the zoos.
Exactly, just walking on the beach. So it was great because I was able to meet people face to face, network with people like both in my industry and just other business owners, and have my family there. So it's a little bit more expensive when you do bring your entire family to a conference than going by yourself, but you kind of are able to turn it into a family vacation / vacation.
Exactly. I love that. Okay. So I want to talk about a little bit, just touch upon, I know this is not like a conference chat here, but so when you go, like, for example, to a QuickBooks conference, I would say that's not really where your clients would be, right? But that's where your partners would be. I really want to hear, like, strategically how you came up with that, and like how you made it happen, like how you followed up. Like, that's so interesting to me.
Yeah, so the QuickBooks Connect conference was in Northern California, and the reason I went to that was specifically to learn more about my own industry. So I was able to meet with vendors and, companies that service my clients and learn how I can better service them. And, they have like training and speakers, and then it was just a lot of my accounting BFFs all hanging out having fun. So it was really neat for that. The big takeaway I got from that is that I learned deeper about the tools that I use and how I can implement them for my clients. So that was like the really cool thing about that. And then, kind of getting to know certain people in my industry where we're referring to each other, because like each of us kind of has our own niche, and rather than this whole like, oh no, they're my competition, like we actually have really awesome relationships. And if somebody comes to me and is like, oh yeah, I saw you, or somebody said your name, but I have this kind of business, I can go, well, I think that is so awesome, but I am not the person you want to talk to, but I'm going to send you over here to my other friend, and she is going to rock your world. So
I love that. I love the relationship that you have created. And I feel like going to a conference is like almost like a 3-for-1. You get a vacation, you get to learn, and you get to hang out with your besties. And I feel like the icing on the top is also like partnerships. I feel like, and I don't know, I'm sure that's in your case. Like, you're such a lovable, easy to talk to woman. You're amazing, Melissa. And I'm sure that so many people are like, oh my gosh, I want to like refer my clients to her. Or like, if they're like a corporate client who has friends who are in the small business industry, like, I'm going to send them to her. So, I feel like that happens all the time, no matter where you go, even if you just meet people like at Lowe's, who mix paint for you. I mean, in my case, but that's another story for another day. All right, Melissa, we have a lot of questions for you from our amazing Mompreneurs listeners. So Ina asks, deduct 50% from your client's meal or from both of your meals?
So it's the combined receipt. So whatever you buy, if you end up only buying for yourself, but you're still meeting a client, you can deduct 50% of that. Or if you buy for you and your client, which, I always recommend, then you deduct 50% of the total receipt. So it would be half of your meal, half of theirs, pretty much. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I hope that answers your questions, sweetheart. Okay, Olga asks, so Evernote is an app and the Wave is wave.com. Is it wave.com?
It's waveapps.com. Okay. So waveapps.com. Or if you just Google Wave accounting, it'll pop up like right at the top.
Okay.
Yeah, so and Evernote is like an app that anyone can use. There's a free version, and it's for note taking, for saving things. You could go down a whole rabbit hole on Evernote, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, a whole rabbit hole. Oh my goodness, believe me. So Olga, to continue your question, I want to make sure so I can check it out. I know I don't keep all my receipts for business expenses or write down the mileage when traveling. Hubby is more organized. He uses online Excel, I believe. Thanks. Oh my gosh, let's talk about mileage. I know we're like totally like over our time.
Yeah.
But can we talk about mileage and like how in the world it works? I remember I used to do speaking engagements for a subcontractor for like a state of Oregon. And I remember I drove a lot, and that was tax deductible, but it was such a pain to always track all the mileage. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, miles is one of those like secret deductions that a lot of people don't know about or don't think about. But if you do actually drive places for your business, it can add up really fast. So one of the things that is making it so much easier now is there are mileage tracking apps like Mile IQ. And you can literally just add it on your phone, turn it on, make sure you have all your locations and everything, and it will track every single trip you do, and you just tell it whether it was business or personal, and can add like notes. So the main thing when you're tracking miles is that you're keeping track of where you went, like why you went there, and then the number of miles. So usually you need to know what your starting mileage at the beginning of the year and your ending mileage at the end of the year. Because on your tax form, it's not only going to ask you how many miles did you put on your car for business, but how many miles did you put on your car total. So that's the other thing that I always am not so good about.
Okay, so that is really, really, really interesting. Nobody tells you that. Like, nobody told me that. I think my husband mentioned it, and he's like, yeah, you have to, like, log in the exact mileage when you start. And that never made sense to me. What if in the middle of the year I switched cars?
You have to track it differently for different cars. So you tell it, like, you have to keep track of which car you drove.
But
I've done that before. In the middle of the year, we, like, bought a different car, and I was like, oh, crud, no.
So you just like practically just sign off at the mileage amount that you sold it at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, what you sold that at, or just kind of figure it out. A lot of people go off of like if you go and pay, like if you go to the oil change place, every time you get your oil change on your little receipt, it'll say what your mileage was. So that's great, but like my husband just changes our own oil because
mine too.
Like that. So we're like, I guess I just gotta kind of keep a track.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Okay, so it's not that. I heard that you have to take it at every like beginning of like a trip and the end of the trip. Is that true, or is it just beginning of the year?
If you're doing it by hand, like so, you can technically go to Staples and buy a little mileage log book, and you can write your, it'll have all the columns, or you can print out a spreadsheet. So if you're doing it by hand, you are supposed to write your starting odometer and your ending odometer. So hence, I am I'm all about apps and automation because they make our lives easier. And I mean, my husband, when he was tutoring, he was going to people's houses, so he would, and he's so much more organized than me too, right? So he had like his little spreadsheet printed out in the car on a clipboard, and he would get in the car and he would write down his miles, and then he'd get home and he'd write that. No,
that's amazing. That's amazing that he's so. But my husband's the same way. So okay, so Mile IQ doesn't track you. It doesn't have your speedometer, but it does. It's not necessary then to use.
What it does when you're signing up, it'll ask you like, what's your odometer reading right now, and so it has a gauge. It knows, and the reason that it tracks all of your mile, like all your driving and not just your business miles, is so that it knows, okay, when we signed up for this app and we hit start, like I was at, 56,000 miles on my car.
So good.
And I've been driving all over the place, which, it's kind of neat too, just to see like, how much do I actually drive? Like how much of us actually pay attention to that between like all of our running our kids around and shopping trips. And
that is so cool. I really like. So how much is the app? Like, I think it has a monthly recurring fee, huh?
I think it's just, my brain is.
Oh, it's okay. I'm gonna link it up.
Yeah, I'll send you. There's a link, and I, as an accountant, I have a link that gives people 20% off.
How cool! I'm totally getting it. Okay.
Yeah.
So ladies.
Very cool.
I'm going to write up the show notes and send you an email on Wednesday morning with all the links and juicy app names and links to that. So, Melissa, we're not done. We still have a few more questions. I'm so sorry, sweetheart.
Oh, I've got time.
Cece, it's so good to see you, sweetheart. Welcome to the Mompreneur Show. I don't think I've seen you here before, so it's so good to see you. So, Cece asks a question. If my husband has a contract labor business and I have an Etsy home business, do we need 2 separate QuickBook home business accounts?
Yes, because you're going to be doing 2 different Schedule Cs, Cece, and I know who you are. My friend. Yeah, so you want to be keeping track of them separately because each of them is a very different type of business, right? So people are worried like, okay, I have a coaching business, but I'm going to write a book. And do I need, is that a separate business writing the book? Or you can lump a lot of things under one business, but if the industries are very different, then you want to keep them separate. So it's like you have 2 different businesses.
Okay.
So there's the independent contractor, service type business, keeping track of that because that's going to go on one form. And the form that if you're just a solopreneur, you haven't incorporated or anything, the form you use on your taxes is called Schedule C. So you're going to file one for him and his business, and then you're going to file a separate one for your Etsy business and all of the things that you're doing.
Okay. Really, really, really interesting. Thank you so much, Melissa. Cece, let me know if Melissa answered your question. I'm sure she did, but thank you so much for asking and for joining us today. Renee asks, can you submit a 1099 on a contractor without having their social security number?
Oh, that is such a good question. I know right now everybody's freaking out about 1099. So do your best to get their information. And here's the thing. There are some pretty hefty fines that the IRS will impose on them for not giving you their tax information. And technically, yes, you can file the 1099 with just their name. And you can basically write a note that they refuse to give you their social security number. But no matter what, you cover your bottom and do what's your duty, which is to issue the 1099. Now, the one thing that a lot of people don't know about 1099s is if you paid this contractor with your credit card or your debit card as branded as credit and it went through credit card processing, you don't actually have to send them a 1099. It's the credit cards company's job to send them a 1099.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard this, but
mind blown.
But hold on, the credit card companies actually never do that.
That's because there's this. So our responsibility is if we pay someone over $600, we have to send them a 1099. The credit card company, the rule for them is if they pay someone over $20,000, they have to send the 1099. It's called a 1099K if it comes from a credit card company. So it's a weird gap, and it's something that all of us tax people are like, come on, IRS, like catch up with the times.
That's very interesting. So if I have a VA on my team and she sends me invoices and I pay her, and at the end of the year, in beginning of next year, I still have to send her a 1099, even though everything was invoiced and everything.
No, if you paid her with your credit card instead of your bank account. So this is how the general rule is.
PayPal.
If you pulled out, so PayPal is also a card process, like a merchant service. So it's their responsibility. So if you pull out your card and it comes off your card, then you don't have to issue the 1099. If it comes out of your bank account and you're typing in your bank, routing number, then you have to send the 1099.
Okay, hold on. This is getting...
I know, it's totally confusing.
So, but if it pulls from my PayPal balance,
then it's usually PayPal's job.
Okay.
You can always, when in doubt, send the 1099. And if they go, oh my gosh, I got it duplicated, I don't know what to do, then you can fix it from there. The idea of not sending it from our side if we paid, especially with our credit card, is that we don't want them to get a 1099 from you saying, okay, I paid you, say, $1,000 this past year. And then another 1099 from the credit card processor. So if it was PayPal or Stripe or something like that, getting another one that says that you got $1,000. So then it looks like they made $2,000 when they only really made $1,000. So that was the idea. And that's why a lot of us have been changing how we do stuff. But again, the IRS is slow to catch up to modern business practices. So it's a little bit confusing and janky.
That's very, very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. And Renee says, same with PayPal, right? If you used PayPal, well, yeah, Melissa, you practically answered the question.
Yeah, pretty much. If you use PayPal, and what I'll do a lot of times, instead of sending an official 1099, just send an email or a letter saying hey, just to remind you, this is how much I have on my records that I paid you last year. I don't believe I have to send you a 1099 because it was through this. If you don't claim this income, you're going to be having problems. But it's not my responsibility to send you a 1099, basically.
Wow. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. And Maya had a question. She sent it to me via email, and my phone completely died. My phone is being so ridiculous right now. So, Melissa, I will post it below if there's any way that you can just take a minute and answer really quick.
Oh, yeah.
I would really appreciate it. All right, Melissa, thank you again so much for being here and answering all these great questions. Just before my phone died, I noticed someone post, who was it? Someone post, this is such great information. Wow. They're really impressed. So Melissa, oh my goodness, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for giving us your time and your knowledge and your expertise.
Oh, it was wonderful. I love sharing with you guys, and I'm happy to hop into the chat and answer questions after we go off live, so I'll hang around a little bit.
Thank you so much. And before I let you go, where can we find you? And I think you were telling me about this really cool thing that you have to give away for our audience.
Yeah, so right now you can find me. My website is melissawhaley.com or whaleybookkeeping.com. They both kind of go to the same place right now. And if you go to melissawhaley.com/deductions, I have a free training, a video training right now for just helping you understand even more the business deductions, what you can and can't deduct. And so you can get that for free by going there and just popping in your email.
How cool, Melissa. This is really great. Thank you so much. And I will make sure and put everything in the show notes, ladies, so you can just click a link without having to scramble for a piece of paper, especially if you're driving. All right, Melissa, again, thank you so much, sweetheart. You have been amazing.
Thanks, Vicky.
I'll talk to you later. Bye. Ladies, thank you so much for being here on the Mompreneur Show. I hope that, I'm not even hoping. I know that you got so much out of this episode. Melissa was incredible. And I'm so thankful that she never said, well, I'm not a professional, you have to hire me, blah, blah. You know, like a lot of times I feel like we run into these situations where you ask a professional like for advice, especially like maybe on a podcast or on a show like this, and they kind of like back up a little bit and not give you all their juicy information. And I think that Melissa did that so beautifully, and she gave us the information. She really helped us and shared her incredible wisdom. So thank you again so much, Melissa. And ladies, if you have any questions for Melissa, be following after this video. Melissa, oh my gosh, you're gonna have so much work. So please let me know in the comments. Just put your question in the comments, and Melissa will be here maybe for she'll be around to answer a couple of questions. But make sure you do that if you have any questions, and go on to melissawhaley.com or whaleybookkeeping.com, and that's Whaley is WHALEY bookkeeping.com with 2 Ks. Thank you again so much. I'm your host, Vicky Lashenko, and this is a show that helps you win in business without losing at home, because I firmly stand that we women, we can have the business, we can have the success, but it's so important that we also have our families, because if we win online and in our businesses and lose at home, to me, that's failure. So I really hope that this show inspires you and encourages you to go for your dreams, but also not forget that your family is always number one priority. All right, I will talk to you later. Next Monday, we have an incredible show scheduled. So I'm really, really excited for that. So please join us every single Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook Live. And I'm going to have to say bye-bye, and I will speak to you in the comments below in just a minute, and live on Facebook next Monday. All right, have an amazing day. Bye-bye.